technology has revolutionized entrepreneurship, especially through e-commerce and digital marketing. E-commerce enables businesses to sell online, while digital marketing leverages channels like social media and email to promote products. Key e-commerce trends include social commerce, where platforms like Instagram and TikTok allow direct sales. Sustainable shopping is gaining traction, with consumers favoring eco-friendly practices. Augmented reality and virtual reality enhance shopping by allowing customers to visualize products in their environment. Live stream shopping on platforms like Amazon Live provides real-time sales experiences. In digital marketing, AI and automation enable personalized customer interactions and optimized operations. Omnichannel marketing ensures a seamless customer experience across various touchpoints. User-generated content, seen as authentic and relatable, helps build trust and engage audiences. By leveraging these technological advancements, entrepreneurs can reach global markets and engage customers effectively. Understanding and implementing trends in e-commerce and digital marketing will enable startups to innovate and grow in the competitive digital landscape.
JLD, I want to start with you because technology has really been central to your business. It's allowed you to relocate to Puerto Rico and continue to grow with your transparent income reports. How have you used digital marketing trends to grow Entrepreneurs on Fire?
That's one thing that I really do love about getting to interview the world's most exciting, inspiring, motivational, successful entrepreneurs is that I'm always in learning mode. I'm always in learning mode from them. Like every one of my guests is a mentor of mine in sorts. So I've learned so much from them, how they use technology, how they use marketing, what they're doing in their business, and I can apply it to my own. So it's just like the best of all worlds, where here I have my business is to speak to successful, genius entrepreneurs and learn from them, and then take what's working in their business and apply it to my business. And by the way, one of the big questions that I ask is what's not working? What's your biggest failure ever? And it was pretty interesting because for the first 2,000 episodes of Entrepreneurs on Fire, my third question, because I asked 6 exact questions every episode, I've changed the format since then, but the third question was, what is your biggest disappointment in your entrepreneurial journey? And such a high percentage of them was the day that they exited their company, which was really shocking to my listeners because they thought that that would be the best day of their life. But, for reasons, that our other guests here shared, like it ended up being the worst day or one of the most disappointing days in their business and just overall life, because it, like Gwen had said, like it was like they kind of gave their baby away and then watched somebody else raise that baby, and that baby ended up sometimes in jail. Like that never would have happened under my watch. Mm-hmm. So that was my most disappointing, worst entrepreneurial moment. So because I learned things like that from my guests, I didn't follow down that path of what a lot of people assumed and thought was the right move, like taking as much venture capital as possible, getting to an exit as soon as possible. Mm-hmm. Like those are actually the wrong moves most of the time if you actually are speaking with somebody who knows what they're talking about.
I'm glad that you're saying that, John, because so many people believe that's the only path. And I'm hoping that these kinds of conversations will be a catalyst to change and reorientation, which goes back to my passion statement about loving what you do and being passionate about it and really wanting to continue on and have a longevity journey versus a quick build exit, because that's what you've listened. That happens on too many podcasts is the norm, which isn't the norm. Or, yeah, I mean, it's like everyone believes that's the normal average journey, and it's so not. You have to really be in it for the long haul and love what you're doing.
Gwen, I'm curious, since the laundress was acquired, how might that inform your definition of success with the fill?
So the fill is, I'm back into cleaning. First of all, I never thought I was done with cleaning. I did it all. I created the best product. I didn't need to do any more work. I did it. And I was excited to move on to other projects and other categories. I'm very passionate about women's health and and many other things, not just laundry. But after 5 years and watching my legacy go down the drain and I was like, what am I going to start doing? Buying Tide? Like, this is insane. No, that's not happening. I decided I need to go and clean up first. I need a clean start. So I'm back into it. But also with the privilege of what I created a category 20 years ago. If I could do it all again now, 20 years older, wiser, better, all those things, what does that look like? And that's where aromatherapy came in as the new thing that I'm interested versus fragrance, etc. But business wise, I built a giant CPG brand. I don't want to do that again. I sold all over the world. I sold to Amazon. I sold in all the stores. I don't want to do any of that. I want to create I want to create the smallest business possible, a very small, sustainable, but it has to be profitable to be sustainable business that really caters to the people that want to be there and want the product and care about this lifestyle and care about these things, their homes, their wellness, which is the community of users that I had for 20 years, and reconnecting on a very personal level with those people and others. And I'm doing it under a private membership community, which is very odd, very strange for a CPG brand. But I'm doing this it's an experiment. I hope it's successful, but I want this to be a small, safe space. It's a community. There's content just for my community. I'm not going to be on TikTok or Instagram talking to everybody. I want to just only speak to the members. So it's the antithesis of social and
yeah, you have a little bit of a different take on technology. This is not a technology business.
No, absolutely not. You were purchasing on e-commerce through a club, but it's not a subscription. So you buy whatever you want, but you're in the club. So there's content for the club and there's communication directly from me to the members, and really creating this community that's exclusive and not for everybody. I don't need to create content for everybody anymore. And I think that model on D2C and paying for customers and thinking you can start a brand on Instagram, and that doesn't work anymore. That model doesn't work. You can't, or it's so expensive to pay for customers through social. But there's no other playbook out there. So people are still throwing money at it that way. And I am hopeful to kind of go back a little bit more to grassroots and the power of your network and connectivity and being in the right circles and telling a friend of a friend, communication. People are lonely. They want more connectivity. All these things I think are very relevant and are going to be playing into different market trends.
John, AI is so hot right now. A lot of the AI companies, the company stocks continue to drive performance of the overall stock market. Are you leveraging AI and automation in your business operations?
We're not currently leveraging AI. I think a lot of people are leveraging AI fantastically, and I admire that. I'm a big believer in being an early adopter and seeing the new trends that are coming, tasting them, trying them, seeing what works, what doesn't work, making mistakes, having fun with it. And honestly, frankly, this would be something that would be up my alley, maybe a couple of years ago. We actually just had our first child, 7 months old now. So our hands have been unbelievably full with that. Otherwise, I'd be diving a little more into AI head on, because I think it's a fantastic technology when wielded correctly. People were terrified of cars when they came out because they thought it was going to get rid of horses. And in a lot of ways, it was an obsolete technology, and it did, and it replaced it and opened up a huge amount of opportunities. People were scared of the internet. People were scared of everything. People are scared of AI, and there's things to be scared of in AI for sure. It needs to be used correctly. It needs to be used wisely. I think there's definitely a lot of case studies of people doing the right things with AI. And there's a lot of case studies of people doing the wrong things with AI. And, we're still at a point where we can kind of see it, sniff it, and smell it a mile away. That's changing because it's getting so good so fast. But, I just tell people, hey, have fun, play with it, smell it, taste it, try it out, do some things. But at the end of the day, just remember that you need to figure out what makes you uniquely special to this world, to this marketplace. You need to discover your special niche that you can dominate the market with. I mean, I'm sure that's why Gwen was successful in the first round with what she did, and why she's going to be successful in the second round, because she didn't just try to go out and copy what other people are doing. Because if you're a pale, weak imitation of somebody else, nobody cares. But if you're actually offering something new, special, unique to this world, that's solving a problem that's not being solved, or that's not being solved that well, you actually have a chance in this world. And people for years did this with Amazon selling. They would go to some great products that were selling fantastically on Amazon. They would go to the 1 and the 2-star reviews to see what everybody was complaining about. And they would create and develop a product that has all the things that were great about the first one, but some of the things that were terrible about it, they would fix and improve. And so they would be solving a better problem than the initial products were. And so that's a way to look and to go after these things. And if you can use AI to do that, power to you. But remember, your essence needs to be everywhere throughout this thing.
Very practical tip. So Brandon Schlichter, Investment Joy, is in the house. I'm envious of that jacket. Brandon, welcome to Inspired Money. I want to ask you, because we're talking about technology, and I'm curious, since you're known for managing traditional businesses like car washes and laundromats, have you been able to integrate e-commerce and digital marketing to enhance your business?
Oh, absolutely. And from my standpoint, all these brick and mortar businesses that exist out there, the old style mom and pops, benefit tremendously from technology. For instance, if you find a company, my standpoint is a car wash. It's bringing in an after debt service and everything, $100,000 a year. It has no technology implementation, no AI wins, nothing on the technology front that's going to make the business more efficient. A savvy entrepreneur can come in, make some simple deployments, nothing crazy, and you can increase the revenue double, triple, quadruple. You can increase your margin by 10, 20, 30%. I don't feel or believe that any of those things are complicated or impossible, and you're not reinventing the wheel. For someone that has a software startup, I've got several friends that are in the software startup world, and they're trying to set the world on fire. They're trying to create the next best thing. That's awesome. How about, taking a car wash that has no digital marketing whatsoever and building out a competent social media strategy, coming up with a customer loyalty program, taking credit cards. It blows my mind how many businesses out there don't even accept credit cards right now. But that implementation alone on an average car wash deal was a 35% increase in revenue day one. So imagine stacking up multiple pieces of technology, like a SMS reward campaign to keep customers re-engaging with your brand, including retargeting. Building a social media presence that also includes retargeting. Those are simple. They're easy. They're not expensive. But in a traditional mom and pop business, they can increase the revenue just wild. And since those technologies haven't been implemented, it's something that is going to be all upside. But you have to be competent. You can't just go out and hire the first contractor that you call or talk to that says, "Oh, I can increase your revenue." I just acquired a company, and we're looking at all the technology implementation, and it's one of those things where it's everybody's got me something to sell me. But since I have the background in all these other companies that I'm involved in, it's relatively easy for me to understand what's going to work, what's not going to work, and who's not charging me an arm and a leg for something that I really don't need. It's like one of the absolute most competent laundromat operators I know in North America, Luke and Lee Williford. I asked him, I said, what would you attribute the best amount of money that you have, or like your best win right now? And he said, "Oh, just traditional geofencing on Facebook and AdSense or AdWords." And I said, "Really? For your laundromat, you're not great. Your lower to middle class laundromats." He said, "Oh yeah, we just got good at digital marketing, and now I've got a $50,000 a month budget We're very performance driven, and we track the customers from the time they engage with the ad to the time they show up. And, that's not anything astronomical, but he runs a multi-million dollar company just in the laundromat sphere.
It's interesting, Brandon, because I just had a conversation 2 days ago with a gal who is a designer in Los Angeles, and she was telling me that she has had 2 very high net worth clients come to her from Yelp, just having great Yelp reviews. So it's like the power of the basics, having a Google Map or Yelp or, those things are very significant.
People can find you.
Especially in service business.
Those are great insights and a good segue to our next segment where we're talking about from startup to scale up.